and my name is Joy. Glad to see you tonight. I love the band tonight. I had no idea until tonight that they were going to sing Love Lifted Me. That's what happened to me, so I loved it. It's been special. Every Thursday night is very special at Celebrate Recovery, but it's my honor and my privilege to introduce our speaker. So, Bob. We started praying about and planning Celebrate Recovery in January of 2005. Les Palmer, my husband Gary, me, Bob Gannon, and probably 4 or 5 others who have gone on to other ministries, but we're still here. And so it's my honor to introduce you to Bob Gannon. He came with the intentions of hope. His hope was to start a prison ministry with Celebrate Recovery. Well, it actually turned out perfect out at Ozark Correctional Center. And those men are leading their own Celebrate Recovery now, but Bob started that. And it was kind of sitting in that small circle that he realized some of the problems that he had left over from Vietnam. So I'm not going to tell his testimony, I'm going to let him tell his testimony. And I don't want to spoil any of his thunder at all. But he's very special to all of us here. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for Bob. Thank you for his ministry. Thank you for his love for you. Thank you for his heart. And Father, it is because of you that you have made the man that he is today. You took all of the troubles from the past and you have turned them into your salt and your light. And he's sharing it with more than just our own Celebrate Recovery. He shares it in many places. And so, Father, I just pray that you'll be with Bob as he goes through his story, your story, and his life. And I know that it will touch every single one of us today. We will hear something in his testimony that means something to us. And we ask it all in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Celebrate Recovery has really been special to me. I'm a veteran with very serious case of post-traumatic stress. And, when I finally got to the VA, which you heard in my testimony, I went through a program called long-term exposure treatment. And you had to deal with some of the issues. And the issues I had to deal with were so rough I would have emotional breakdowns for 5 or 10 minutes. And the psychiatrist, so many people quit, they'd say, well, he probably won't be back, but the next week I'd be back, and the next week I'd be back. And I really would create that to Celebrate Recovery. There's so many new people that come, and then, when things get hard, they quit. Always just remember this, anybody can be a quitter. Amen. It takes no courage to be a quitter. But if you want to be respected in life, when life throws you all that hard curveballs, stand up. Amen. Let your children and your family and yourself be proud of who you are. When we're going through difficult times, it's hard to believe sometimes that Jesus cares about us. I'm sure that there are people here tonight that have a hard time trusting God to take control of their lives. You may go to church every Sunday, and you really want to believe that God cares about you, and you'd like to have that trust that you see in other people's lives, because something that would happen in your life, you're deeply hurt, and you put some of the blame on God for letting it happen. It has affected to have a spiritual relationship between you and God. I was one of those people. I was deeply hurt as a child. I thought God didn't care about me. Why would he let me grow up in a dysfunctional home, an alcoholic father, an abusive mother? I don't ever remember my mom giving me a hug or telling me she loved me. The only time I ever remember her showing any emotion or love for me was when my dad came home drunk and beat me with a good-sized switch, put welts down my back and legs, and some of the welts were bleeding. After the beating, my mom was wiping the blood from my back and legs, and I saw some tears running down her face. And I remember thinking, maybe she does really care about me. I believe she was raised in a dysfunctional home, and the only parenting skills she learned was from her dysfunctional parents. When I started the first grade, I had trouble reading and spelling. They didn't know about dyslexia. Kids like me were just considered dumb. In fact, the teacher told my mom in front of me that I'd never amount to much. I'd probably be something just like a ditch digger. I believe I was in the first or second grade at that time when this incident happened. I remember how it hurt me. I wondered, why didn't God give me the same opportunity as others? I remember asking myself, why don't God like me? What's wrong with me? Why would He let all this happen to me? I gave up trying to learn in school when I heard what the teacher told my mom. My parents gave up hope on me too, that I'd amount to anything. They called me names like you're a dumbbell, you're stupid almost every day. The teachers were just as bad. Many days they would send me back in the classroom with a gun set on my head. I was left-handed and didn't believe that anybody should be left-handed. And every time I tried to use my left hand, they would smack me with a ruler. As you listen to the rest of my testimony, you will see how God was always in control of my life. He kept putting people and circumstances in my life and kept pushing me out of this hopeless hole that the teachers and my parents dug for me. I grew up in a small Catholic town of less than 100 people. It was 13 miles of gravel road just to get to the highway. The school was a 2-room schoolhouse, 1st and 4th in one room, and the 5th to the 8th in the other. The only bathroom we had was an outhouse. Even though it was a public school, we went to church every morning and we had catechism like a Bible study, and after every 5 days a week. In the wintertime, if you was in the 5th to the 8th grade and lived within a mile from the school, you had to take turns coming in early, building fires in the wood stoves in both of the rooms. High school was just as bad as a 2-room schoolhouse. I was put in special education room, and by the rest of the kids in the high school was called the dummy room. There was about 20 of us in that dummy room, and the school didn't think there was any hope of educating us, so they didn't put much effort in it. You know how it is when the school puts a label on you as a dummy. You're going to be made fun of by some of the students. Today they call it bullying. I had really developed an anger issue by that time when I got to high school, and if you were going to make fun of me, you better be ready to fight. So I didn't have any trouble being bullied. I was doing hard work as a boy. I was strong. I worked on farms hauling hay. I worked in the woods cutting cordwood with an axe and a one-man crosscut saw. At 14 years of age, I became the grave digger for our small town. I dug and raised my hand. I got a job working in a charcoal kiln in the summer. When school started, I started working on Saturdays, and I was making $7 a day. My parents were going to let me quit school. They used all the money that I made, and we was pretty poor. So, but the day before I was to quit school, somebody turned me in for not being 16 years of age. Some days in those kills, we loaded, there was just 2 of us, and we loaded 30 to 40 cord of wood. I don't know if you know how much a cord of wood is, but it's 4 foot high, 8 foot long, 4 foot wide. I know if somebody had turned me in, my body would have broke down being that young, doing that kind of work. The charcoal kiln was 8 miles from our house. I didn't have a car, so my parents couldn't pick me up. Many times I walked that 8 miles back to home. The high school did give all of us dummies a diploma. I graduated May 15, 1960, and May 16th, the next day, I left for the Marine Corps boot camp. I planned to make it as a career. I didn't think I'd ever make much rank, but at least I'd have somewhat of a home, or somewhat of a career, something that I could be proud of. As I look back on my life, through the hard times that God brought me through, I built mental toughness and determination that not many people have. I made it through boot camp and was hoping the Marines would send me to a school. It was not to be. I was assigned to the 4th Marines in Hawaii Infantry Battalion, carrying the Browning automatic rifle, which weighed over 20 pounds. I was there about 3 months when the Marine Corps decided to form a special squad to put on demonstrations for dignitaries and U.S. dignitaries from the U.S. and foreign countries. Of the 1,500 Marines that were stationed there, 13 were selected to be on that special squad. I was one of those Marines selected. When I joined, I didn't think I'd make much rank because I was so young. But I was wrong. I made corporal in 2 years. The normal climb back in 1962 was from 4 to 5. My next duty station was Subic Bay, Philippines, where I worked in a guard company, guarding the ammo bunker in the jungles, and I also served for time on the Armed Forces Police. Our work schedule was we worked 8-hour shifts, 24 hours on, 24 hours off. On my days off, I started swimming in the Marine pool. I wrestled up through distance with swimming, running, or cycling, and I'd swim between 70 and 100 laps in that pool every other day. I was asked to try out for the Marine team. I made the team, swimming at 400, I think that's what it was. There were a lot of laps back and forth. And I won the inter-service championships, swimming at 400. I was promoted to sergeant before I transferred from Subic Bay to Camp Pendleton, California. Because of swimming on the Marine team in the Philippines, I was selected to join Recon. I joined Charlie Company, 1st Recon. Less than 1% of Marines are selected to go through the Recon training, and about half don't make it. I was assigned to the 3rd Platoon, where I met a man who would change my life. He was a platoon sergeant, Staff Sergeant Huff. He was a Korean War veteran and had seen some intense fighting in Korea. I wasn't around much for about 4 months. I was attending recon schools, and when I was attending recon schools, I did some training with them. And me and Sergeant Huff became good friends. But that relationship was soon to end. When we got our orders to go to Vietnam, before we departed the States, we spent 30 days in intense training. Sergeant Huff's personality changed from being a nice guy to what seemed like a raging tyrant. He had a task of getting a platoon of young, inexperienced recon Marines ready to go to war. I was a sergeant, and that meant I was next in line to take over the platoon if something happened to Sergeant Huff. A lot of his rage was directed personally towards me. He was down my throat, so to speak, of day and night, no letting up. I felt humiliated, confused, and unsure how to handle the situation. I had very little recon experience or leadership skills necessary to be in position of a platoon sergeant, much less the position of a recon platoon sergeant. Recon's job is to gather information on the enemy. We operated anywhere from 5 to 40 miles inside enemy territory. It's the eyes and ears of the infantry regiment. And the information we gathered was helpful with their survival and their mission. I was hoping when we got to Vietnam that Sergeant Huff would ease up on me, but it only got worse. He was continuing on, he asked me about this and that, where you at, just recon's like from going to high school or college. There's just so much you have to operate. You have to know. When you're operating in the jungle in 4-man teams, you make one mistake and you're dead. You have to maintain. You're always making sure, one thing about being in recon, when you're out in the jungle, you got to know exactly where you're on that map at all times. If something happens, you have to be able to call artillery fire right now, because many times that's the only time we have to escape or be able to gunfire or something, or when you get on the run, it's a relay on the radio, you're in trouble and where your last location was at. I began to hate Sergeant Huff and even talk about quitting recon and transferring to the infantry. After about 4 months in Vietnam, Sergeant Huff Vietnam, Sergeant Hubbard's sister wounded in an ambush and was evacuated to a hospital in Japan. The next day, the company commander informed me they were making me the platoon sergeant of the 3rd Platoon, and I felt that great weight of responsibility. I was 23 years old at the time. At that moment, I understood why Sergeant Huff became who he was when we got orders to go to Vietnam. I realized he had a mission to prepare me for the task ahead, the huge responsibility of being a platoon sergeant of recon platoon. I know now his heart was a lot like Jesus, giving most of his life to serve his country and dedicating to getting many of us home as possible. I led almost 30 recon missions after we made platoon sergeant and was awarded the Navy Commendation Medal for leadership. I remember my first fitness report on my second tour in Vietnam as a platoon sergeant, my company commander. He commended how now Staff Sergeant Gannon had taken a platoon of young and experienced Marines and turned them into a hardcore fighting unit in a short period of time. What Sergeant Huff taught me was to be a leader, you become a servant. Always putting your men's needs before your own. God sent Sergeant Huff in my life as a father to form me into a competent and proficient platoon sergeant and teach me the leadership skills I would need then and later on in life. Isaiah 64:8. Yet, O Lord, you are our Father, we are the clay, and you are the potter. We are all the work of your hands. About 10 years after I was discharged, medically discharged from the Marines, I made contact with Sergeant Huff. He had retired and was selling insurance in Oceanside, California. We talked about meeting somewhere in between and spending a few days together. I don't remember the date, but I remember the time. It was 2:30 in the morning. I woke up. Someone told me he just died. I never heard from him again. His name not written in his books, but it's etched in the hearts of all the men who served under him. I had an experience on a recon mission that I can somewhere relate to what Jesus gone through in the Garden of Gethsemane. It's helped me understand the great love that Jesus had for us, and even in my times of struggle, I've relied on this incident to help me. You'll see later on my testimony that anger I had in God. Our recon team had been on a mission. We'd been out for 5 days, so we're about 20 miles from our lines. It was late in the day, and the chopper that was going to pick us up was late picking us up. The chopper arrived about dark, and as he was landing, something happened, and the helicopter crashed. We were informed by the command post to destroy the chopper's communication equipment and find a good place to hide because it'd be the next morning before we could get picked up. We knew the Viet Cong saw the helicopter crash and they'd be looking for us. We caused the Viet Cong a lot of problems, pretty much stopping them from moving supplies and ammunition and training during the day. They wanted to capture the recon team. We listened to some of their propaganda on the Nord radio, a program called The Knowing Hannah, which was broadcast in English. And at times they would mention they had seen us drop in. They had let us know they'd be looking for us. The fear of being captured was always on our mind. And before we got the chopper's communication equipment destroyed, the Viet Cong began firing down on us from a mountain next to where the chopper crashed. I knew we were in serious trouble with no possible help till morning. There was 4 of us recon Marines and two chopper pilots. I moved them into some elephant grass and told them don't move or shoot at the Viet Cong unless you're stepped on. The elephant grass gets 10 to 12 feet tall and is thick and is difficult to move through. I knew they'd have to step on us to find us. About an hour later, we heard the Viet Cong talking. Then we smelled smoke. We knew the Viet Cong were trying to set fire to the elephant grass and burn us out. But the elephant grass was too green, it wouldn't burn. They then began using machetes, chopping through the grass looking for us. Twice that night, the Viet Cong passed within a few yards of us. My heart was beating so hard, I was sure the Viet Cong were going to hear it beating. I remember thinking who I would be if I got captured and they began torturing me. Would I be able to withstand the torture and not break and be an example for my men to follow? Or would I be a sobbing coward begging for my life? I began praying that the Viet Cong find us. Let me be killed in the firefight. I don't want to take this test. I'm not sure who I would be. A tough recon sergeant or a sobbing coward. They didn't find us that night and we lived to fight another day. But when I'm reading my Bible, hanging in the garden, I remember that night in the elephant grass and how afraid I was. And I can relate the stress that Jesus suffered waiting on his crucifixion. Matthew 26:33 says, he threw himself on the ground and prayed, my Father, if possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not what I want, but what you want. 3 times in that garden you pray that this cup be removed as possible. In Luke 23:43, we read an angel was sent from heaven to strengthen him. In Luke 22:44, we read, being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and sweat was like great drops of blood falling to the ground. You see, if I was captured that night and tortured and broke, they would have said he talked the talk, but he couldn't walk the walk. But in Jesus' case, he was carrying salvation, our salvation, on his shoulders. I've thought a great deal about the crucifixion because what happened in elephant grass that night. He came to the conclusion he could take the beating and humiliation because of the great love he has for us. A love so great that we can't understand it. I believe many of us take the crucifixion as an event, and we don't realize the amount of suffering and fear that he faced when he was crucified. You see, he was human, just like us. I was sent back to Vietnam in November of 1957, beginning as a platoon sergeant on the 3rd Platoon. I only lasted 4 or 5 months before I was injured and was sent to the Naval Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. I met one of the men from the 3rd Platoon, and he said 2 days after I was medevaced out, there was an ambush, and most of the men in the platoon were killed. I remember the anger I felt at God for not letting me be with my platoon when they were ambushed. It was a sergeant's job to be with his men in battle and die with them if needed. The night I was injured, the day I was injured, they could not medevac me out. Or the night I was injured, they could not medevac me out until daylight the next morning. I remember several men asking me who's going to take over as platoon sergeant. There's no one left with any experience. They asked me several times, do you think you'll make it back and take over as platoon sergeant again? They were going to Viet Cong stronghold in a few days. They knew there was going to be a battle and they were scared. I was loaded on a medevac chopper in the morning. As I was leaving the battlefield, I can remember thinking, I'm going to live. I'm going to see my children. Little did I know those words were going to haunt me for the rest of my life. When I found out what happened to the platoon, I was still in the hospital, the Naval Hospital in Memphis. I became so angry at God for not letting me be with that platoon when they were ambushed. I swore I would go to hell before I'd ever kneel, bow, or pray to a God that didn't allow me to be with. Amen. Those words, I'm going to live and get to see my children, will haunt me for the rest of my life. I felt selfish. Should have been worried about my platoon, not about myself. I told myself only a coward would put his personal welfare before his men. I told myself many times, you must be a coward. You worked phony as a platoon sergeant. Those words, who's going to take over the platoon? There's no one left with any experience. Those words still haunt me to this day. I was 26 years old at the time this happened. In 1969, I received a medical discharge because of my injury. I still thought that I was dumb, but I was determined to go to college. I thought I'll flunk a lot of courses, but I'll just keep on retaking them until I pass. I decided on taking electronics at Technical College in Missouri. My parents told me I was too dumb to take electronics. I should take something easier. I took the entrance exam and I scored at a 6th grade level. When I was discharged from the Marines, I had $600 to my name. I used most of it to purchase a chainsaw and a 1952 2.5-ton truck and doing the only trade I knew. Went back to cutting cordwood for a living. We should cut 3/4 a day, split and load it all into the kiln, make about $20. I rented a farmhouse for $45 and I worked out the rent working on the farm. The first year was really hard with only a 6th grade education. I had to take algebra 1, algebra 2, trigonometry, calculus. And not the first year, but for the first 2 years. But there was always somebody there to help me and tutor me, or a study group in my electronic class to help me. That first year was really rough, but I didn't flunk any courses. My grades started improving my second year and I made the honor roll once. I took a 3rd year computer course called computer maintenance and made grades high enough once to make the dean's list. Those were some tough times. I lived on $4,000 a year. And never again, and never should you let anybody limit your dreams.
Amen.
I'll call you dumb. About 10 years after I graduated from Lynn Tech, they started doing a story once a year on a student that had graduated and excelled in his career or inspired others while attending Lynn. Of the thousands of students that had graduated, I was the second student they chose to do a story on. Can you see how God is guiding my life?
Amen.
I got a job at the pipeline company as an electrical mechanical technician, working out of a small office in Wood River, Illinois. It was a great job for somebody with a serious case of post-traumatic stress, which I didn't know I had at the time. My area responsibility was from Decatur, Illinois to Springfield, Missouri, working by myself most of the time. But my troubles were just beginning. Being on the road alone, the war seemed always on my mind. I could only sleep about 3 hours a night. What happened to the platoon and the incident I shared in last year's testimony when artillery rounds that I called units in Viet Cong that were trained in rice paddy fell short, hitting the village and killing many men, women, and children. The guilt I felt was overwhelming. At times I would have like daytime dreams visualizing what happened to the platoon when they were ambushed. The battle would be so real in my mind. I could hear the sounds of gunfire. I could hear the screams of men being hit. And I could hear those screams of the women and children. When those artillery rounds hit the village, if I was driving, I would have to pull off the road for a time because I'd be crying so hard. My whole body would be shaking. I was also suffering from survivor's guilt and angry to God, still for not letting me be with my platoon. I was drinking a lot. I can remember driving drunk at night, waking up all alone on some road in the morning, wondering where I was. And for the next 20 years, not only wrecked my own life, but I wrecked my marriage, I wrecked the lives of my children, and I still remember the night I hit bottom. I was sitting in my company truck. I was so tired of all this turmoil and thinking of all the people I hurt and all the sins that I had committed. I began to cry. And I felt a tap on my shoulder, and the voice said, "It's almost over." And the very next day, my life started changing. As you can see, when I hit bottom, God was there waiting on me. I stopped drinking and tried to lead somewhat of a normal life. I tried going to church, but I still had a lot of anger at God, and I just couldn't pray. I got remarried to my present wife, Judy. She always went to church every Sunday and took me along when we joined a Baptist church in St. Louis. I got involved in different church ministries and became quite respected, but on the inside I was spiritually dead. I always hated when someone would ask me to pray. I was still angry at God, and I didn't want to pray to Him. I was working in the church not because I had a love for God, because I had a heart for hurting people. And I knew how it felt to feel hopeless and hurt, and to feel like no one cares whether I live or die. My wife and I transferred to Springfield with my job, and I got involved for 2 years in the jail ministry in Mount Vernon. And we joined Ridgecrest Baptist, and I was asked help to start the Celebrate Recovery program here. I was a small group leader for the chemical dependency for about 6 months, and then started Celebrate Recovery inside at Portland. There were about 500 men in Portland prison. We had about 100 to 130 going through our Celebrate Recovery step study. It would take 6 or 8 months to complete. Now, I still relate that back to the leadership skills I learned from Staff Sergeant Huff. I was still angry at God, and I still hated to pray when somebody would ask me to lead prayer. I knew the only way these men were to have any hope of changing their life when they got out of prison was to lean heavily on God's guidance. I retired in 2005 from my pipeline job, and I started having serious problems with post-traumatic stress. Without the problems of job to worry about, the Lord was raising my mind every day. I had already pretty much isolated myself from my family, my children, my wife. Most of the time, I just wanted to be alone. I asked God many times, "Why are you keeping me here, living with this guilt and pain?" It was unbearable. I do understand my 22 veterans today commit suicide, and almost 50,000 are homeless on any given day. I feel I'm a pretty tough guy from what I've been through. The PTSD is the toughest battle I've ever fought. I know that God has been watching and guiding my life because He had a mission for me here on earth. One day when I was having flashbacks of what happened to the platoon, I asked God again why wasn't I allowed to die with my men. And that night I had a dream that I died, and the men who were killed in ambush were there to greet me. They all had smiles on their faces, and now were reaching down with their hands to pull me away to where they were. They had joy on their face, and it sure looked like heaven to me. I also remember once in Vietnam, we was crossing the rice paddy. We were crossing one at a time, running full speed, and we were in a really bad area, while the rest of the platoon was covered for the one was crossing. And it was my turn to cross. I was about halfway across, and I stumbled. Just as I stumbled, I heard a shot. A Viet Cong sniper cut down on me. I heard the bullet pass just to the left of my head. If I had not stumbled, there'd be somebody else up there telling their story tonight. And I remember thinking when I got across that rice paddy, wow, does God have a plan for me? In 2007, I finally got into the VA and started receiving some treatment for my post-traumatic stress. It really helped me desensitize what happened to me in Vietnam. Now we set goals to be a better father to my children, develop a relationship with my grandchildren, and be a better husband to my wife. The things I learned is how to hug my daughter. I had not had my daughter in 20 years. They didn't know how. Post-traumatic stress never goes away. It's a constant battle. If I don't see somebody for a while, I build a barrier between them. And that barrier always comes up, especially with somebody close to you. It was my wife that led me back to the Catholic Church about 3 years ago. You know, one thing I want to say right here is, I'll talk a little bit about the Catholic Church, but I've been in the Baptist Church, the Lutheran Church, and I've seen miracles wherever I've been. Amen. In every church. So I'm not, you know, there's a religion for all of us, so don't think I'm, you know. And I bought myself a rosary, and I began to pray in the rosary every day. See, I never could pray to God, I never could talk to God, but a rosary is just set prayers you say over and over and over. When I first started praying the rosary, Satan put every sinful thing I ever did in my mind in those 20 years of heavy drinking. After about 6 months of praying the rosary, I began experiencing spiritual healing. And I know that many of you here, when you start praying, it's tough. It was tough, but you know what? Like I told earlier, I didn't quit. And it took 6 months before I began attending a prayer group on Mondays. 13 women and me was the only guy. You can see why God put me through that tough thing. And I remember the first day I attended, I could feel God's presence in my heart. I've been attending now for about a year, and my anger at God is gone. For the first time in my life, I can feel in my heart the great love that God has for all of us. And now when somebody asks me to pray, I don't mind praying. I can feel the words that are coming from my heart, not just words I'm trying to put together in my mind. Amen. I know that God had a reason for me to go through the type of childhood I went through in my heart. And because of that pain and hardship, I have a great compassion for those who are struggling with life. And God's given me a great story. I can relate my struggles to someone who's struggling, and my story many times gives them hope and courage, and encourage to change their life. Now I feel special. I feel that God had personally selected me to go through these hard times. And like many of you here tonight, it's through our own suffering that we can bring the gospel to all those hurting men and women. God created us out of love, and He has chosen us. I believe this. He's chosen us to help bring those hurting souls that He loves so much to live with them in heaven. And that's why I love Celebrate Recovery. Because we're here, we're all here. God also has restored my family. Both of my children have been through college, and neither have been divorced. I have 3 grandchildren. One just graduated from Mizzou, the second's a junior at Mizzou, and the third's planning to go to Raleigh School of Mines. It's not the normal children of an alcoholic. I was not a good father, nor was I a good example. After the night I hit bottom, and the voice said it's almost over, I looked over my life, and I looked at the mess I made, and I told God, I will serve you if you will clean up the mess I made. I had been serving Him in the inner cities, jails, prisons, and homeless shelters. I was still mad at Him, but I was serving Him. As I look at my children today and my grandchildren, I do believe He's kept this part of the deal. You see, when I go into a prison and I see a young boy, I also see a hurting mother with the feelings of guilt. And just maybe with Celebrate Recovery and God's help, we can give that mother her son back. When I see a married man in prison, I see a little girl who needs to be held by her dad. Hey, boy, who needs a dad to play ball with. Just maybe with Celebrate Recovery and God's help, we can send a loving father back to those children. When I go into a homeless shelter, I see me. I see that little boy that the teacher said will amount to much more than a ditch digger. And just maybe my story with God's help will give somebody the courage to change their life and to chase the dream that God's put in their heart. And just maybe somebody here today who's gone through difficult times and has been deeply hurt like me. Just maybe my story will bring you hope. And with Celebrate Recovery and God's help, you'll find the courage to chase that dream that God's put in your heart. Thank you, and God bless all of you.